Let's listen to John Fetterman. He covers a couple of things, but I think the thing that most of us are going to be that stands out is that he's asked to give advice to Joe Biden on how to reach young people, because I guess apparently he's doing a good job at young people outreach, maybe. But let's listen to him. He also talks about immigration, which is another topic we're talking about today.
Senator John Fetterman, it's good to have you on the show this morning. A lot of questions for you about what the Biden campaign can do moving forward. And I think one of the big ones is, how do they approach the constant disinformation from Republicans who right now blaming the Biden administration for not closing the border?
Well, closing the border, I think the president has been very clear that he has to act about that, and I fully support that as well too. And now the Republicans are never going to have a kind of a deal now, because they don't want that, because it's too valuable to have that as a weapon. And I think now it's also could be helpful to just bring HR2 onto the table and almost kind of challenge them to let's say, hey, here we go. Are we willing to go this far? Because we do need to make sure that this border needs to be secure.
Okay, can you pause it here for 1 second? Okay, so look at this.
I think he means secure. I think he means secure when he said that.
Yeah. First of all, that wasn't a coherent sentence, nor was it an answer. And I played this video on my show. I recently clipped it too on my channel. And this man is incapable of answering any of these people. And if you just look at this, it's like an episode from Sesame Street. One of these people's not like the other. One of these people's not dressed. Like, I understand when we do our show, our podcast, we dress how we want. But my God, you're in front of the American people. This man is in a hoodie. He dresses like a homeless person and walks around the Capitol building. And this is supposed to be a United States senator. People of Pennsylvania, be better. Do better. You deserve to be represented.
And just the way he speaks, I was going to stop it at the same point and just have a similar sort of analysis, is that he doesn't seem to be all that intellectual. He seems, and maybe that could be it. Maybe that's what I'm seeing and what I'm reading as anti-intellectual, but it seems like very basic knowledge, and I'm not, because I was going to ask, like, who is John Fetterman here? Who is his audience? I don't understand who his audience is. Like, they're bringing him on so he can speak to who? That's the part that I'm not really seeing in John Fetterman. But go ahead if you wanted to chime in.
And again, the point of him not being intellectual, he did have a stroke. He's had his fair share of health problems, and we have seen him struggle to be coherent to the press, or even when he's presiding in the U.S. Senate. This is somebody who is just, throughout this entire interview, is going to deflect and not answer any of these questions. And yet these quote unquote journalists and pundits that are on BSDNC, on Morning Blow, are going to try and treat this as somebody who's a man of the people and who's reasonable. There's nothing reasonable, John Fetterman, when he's instigating and provoking people, waving the Israeli flag and trying to justify the genocidal actions that's happening in Gaza. This is not a serious person. This is a person who is not well and not fit for office, just like Joe Biden.
I concur. Let's listen a little. Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
Well, John Fetterman is the biggest fraud out there, or one of them. He's a Harvard grad, okay? And so he dresses like this. This was a decision somewhere along the line. He was in politics in Pennsylvania. Some Democrats, this is how I think it works. The DNC gets wind of him. He connects with working class, blue collar folks. Okay, let's get this guy dressing a certain way. In the primaries, when he was running for Senate, he said he supported Medicare for all, said he was a Bernie guy. I think that was all part of the plot, the fraud, and to make him look like he might be like us. He's not. And then he gets in, he does this complete 180. He's not just, hey, listen, we got to stand with Israel. They're our ally. I don't agree with that, but I know that there are folks just saying that he has gone hard pro the worst right-wing elements in Israel, pro-genocide, and he still walks around. First of all, he looks like a slob. I agree. You know, you get a job in the Senate. There's a little bit of decorum.
Yep.
You know.
At least dress the part. All right. Even George Santos had the audacity to dress reasonably. Okay, and George Santos is not all there.
Listen, I miss George Santos for the same reason that comedians miss Donald Trump. He was funny.
Yes.
He was the gift that kept giving. And, you know, I'm from Long Island, so he was in the district next to mine. But at least he wore his suit and tie. But his language problem is from his stroke. He's still slightly aphasic, meaning the language centers of his brain were damaged by the stroke, which is awful. He's a young guy. I had a lot of sympathy when I heard that happen to him. And I applaud his fighting through his recovery, but I don't think he's fit to be a senator, not because of his health problems, but because he does not stand for the people, and he is really, I think he used left-wing rhetoric to get elected and then turned on those that supported him in a very significant and cynical way. And I just think that's why I call him a fraud. He's horrible. And I try not to listen to anything he says ever, because it just makes me angry.
All right, let's try to get through some of this then, because it is hard. I must admit, watching him is hard, but let's try to get through a little bit more of this, and then we'll get to the AOC calling out Joe Biden over immigration.
And Al Sharpton with us, Senator, and he has the next question. Reverend Al.
Senator, one of the things I've watched as you began campaigning for Biden is dealing with the fact that there's misinformation and a lot of noise on the right that are the ones that are supporting Trump. But you've also said that you're not going to let people just answer with noise on the so-called left, that you're going to try to do what you think is right for the American people. Talk about it that a little, that we do not need to counterbalance misinformation and noise and things that are being demonstrated by the zealots on the right, but that we need to define what's good for Americans. I think that that's the kind of road you're trying to project, and you're taking on so-called progressives, who I call latte liberals, who want to imprison you with an ideology rather than deal with what people want to see done in this country.
Well, the Republicans are shameless, and they've always been that way. And I don't know why anybody is surprised that now that they have any kind of shame at all. And they are willing to lie. And they're right now. Vance just pointed out that he's lying about the Ukrainian aid, and it's very clear that all of that aid is going right to American companies that produce these kind of munitions as well too. They're willing to carry any water for Trump, and I'm not sure where this kinds of now fetish for Russia ever became as well. But I'm old enough to remember when it used to be the evil empire, and now you have a part of the Republican Party that are willing to stand with them, and they're actually embracing them as well too. And it's truly astonishing that you are willing to let Ukraine fail as well. It's absolutely astonishing. They assassinate top critics, and they are now have been empowered to act that way. And I don't know why we can't just want to lean in and deliver for both Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan.
What I don't understand about John Fetterman, or what I haven't been able to grasp yet and have a firm opinion on, whether or not he changed or whether this guy was a Trojan horse from the beginning.
Trojan horse.
To be
Trojan
progressive.
Horse. Trust your gut. Trust your gut. Trust your gut, CJ.
Trust my gut. No, I didn't really know, because literally, it's like, even though we cover it, but I think Nick covers John Fetterman more than I do, so I know slightly less about John Fetterman, and I just hadn't seen enough to really form an opinion, because this is the reason, because to be this bad, to be this bad on so many different levels, but to be known as a progressive, it just seems to be a very large gap. And either he had to be lying from the jump, or something
lying from the jump.
Once he got elected, they put fear into him or something. But no. You think it's from the beginning? But go ahead.
From the beginning, I mean, actions speak louder than words. I mean, let's not forget, this is the same John Fetterman who chased a young black teenager with a shotgun down the street and never apologized for it. I mean, his own actions and where he stands on issues. He saw the Bernie Sanders movement. He jumped on top of it, capitalized on it, but within his own personal opinions, this is how he feels, because he too also suffers from the fear of Donald Trump getting reelected into office. And so anytime there's talk about, withholding aid from Ukraine, even though Ukraine is a ridiculous proxy war that has cost us billions in treasury, countless lives forever lost, a nation forever scarred, and we're the ones flipping the bill for it, by the way. I would say John Fetterman's always been this way, and he wants people to feel guilty for having the audacity to say, maybe we should stop this war in Ukraine, maybe we should stop giving all this aid here, maybe we should have diplomatic talks, because he's probably in on it too for the military-industrial complex. Fetterman hates, he hates the fact that people are actually thinking for themselves, and look, he's getting criticized. Look at how he's reacting to anti-war protesters. He's waving the Israeli flag. I mean, there's been numerous incidents on social media where he's instigating and provoking people, actions unbecoming of a U.S. senator. And I get it. We have Republican and Democratic politicians who like to troll people, but not to the point where this guy's acting like a schoolyard bully or some hick down the road. He is acting like a real jagoff here. And he is once again projecting his feelings and his emotions onto people, because people are waking up. And he's gonna once again start telling people, well, I guess Russia's the evil empire. Okay, well, Russia's the evil empire. What about our actions? Is it not evil? Endless forever war? If Russia's the evil empire, shouldn't we be doing everything to promote diplomacy and peace talks? But oh no, we're provoking it. We're provoking it, provoking more wars. War in Yemen, war in Iran, war with Taiwan. I mean, Taiwan, for Christ's sakes. Nancy Pelosi flying there almost provoked the Chinese a full-scale military action, and corporate media did this ridiculous segment of what would happen if China and America fought each other. I talked about it on JB's show like a year ago when that first happened. My God, people are talking about, here's an exciting war game, U.S. versus China. Spoiler alert, the nukes will be a-flying when that happens, if that happens.
They've done war games many times, and we've lost like something in the 80th percentile. That's not a fight we want with China. But let's get back to this video. Let's listen a little more to this obvious psyop called John Fetterman, because again, he's a Harvard graduate, but even before the stroke, he had this demeanor. He was playing this, Pennsylvania working class Joe sort of persona, and that's just not him.
Senator, good morning. It's great to have you on the show. Just want to get a sense from you on the ground in Pennsylvania, a state that, again, obviously will be pivotal to the presidential election as it was and so close, and Joe Biden won in 2020. What's your sense of the feeling on the ground there? We have economic data that shows a very strong economy, but a lot of people in our country aren't feeling that right now. What do you think will tilt this election one way or another in your pivotal state come fall?
It's going to be close. I've always predicted that it was going to be really close back in 2016. And the polls really predicted that Clinton was going to walk in Pennsylvania. And I knew that wasn't going to happen. The same thing in 2020 as well, too. Biden has up maybe 5 points back in 2020. And I'm like, that's just not true. And now it's very close. And that's the same thing is going to be in 24 as well, too. And I do fundamentally believe that Biden is going to carry that as well. And I'm proud to campaign for him, just the way I was proud to campaign with him in 22. When now people were saying that it's too not popular enough to be seen with them, and I'm proud to be seen with them.
What was that?
That was a Zoom filter. It was confetti. It was now it happened live on air. Woo! Celebration, genocide. There you go.
Wait, did Case Study put that in there?
No. Oh, Case Study is innocent.
wow.
Could we rewind that just a second?
Yeah.
I want to.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, I would definitely rewind that. But that was weird here. Let's watch and let it play out.
I'm going to carry that as well. And I'm proud to campaign for him, just the way I was proud to campaign with him in 22, when now people were saying that it's too not popular enough to be seen with him. And I'm proud to be seen with him anytime as well. He's been an incredible president.
Senator, we just had an amusing Zoom filter moment there. Good to see you this morning. Let me ask you about right now. There were some concerns about President Biden's popularity with the core pieces of the Democratic base, including progressives, young people, some of whom you've really reached in your campaign. What does this message need to be to them to make sure they come out for him this November and don't opt to stay home or find a third-party candidate?
So John Fetterman, so Morning Joe, Anthony and Kit, they said, hey, we're doing bad in the young people and progressive department. Who can we tap who has a good relationship with young people and progressives recently? Who can we tap? John Fetterman, the guy who's literally been mocking people, the guy who literally had a constituent removed physically away because he's wondering about the genocide by his security. Like, that's the guy they're tapping for advice on how to speak to that constituency. And it begs the question again, what I asked earlier is, who is Morning Joe bringing John Fetterman on for? And it's my belief is that John Fetterman, to their audience, to their donor sort of 55 plus audience, John Fetterman in their narrative is the progressive, but he's the progressive who's making all the right decisions, lining up with establishment. So that's who you would want to bring on as a representative of the progressives if you are an establishment channel. That's the only angle I can see this being a benefit, because he's not here to get some audience members who might be on the fence who's watching Morning Joe. I don't think that's the play they're making. But let's listen to a little bit more, and then we can move on to AOC here.
Well, I think the president has done an incredible job as well too, and by any metric now, the president has been incredibly strong as well too now. And if you are talking about young progressives, it's like literally yesterday he now is canceling more student debt as well too. And now you have in Alabama now you have embryos now having called real beings as well too. I mean, look at the kinds of things. This election is always about two very stark choices as well. And that's the kind of thing I talked about in Reno as well, too. It's like we have a major choice in our America, what we want to be for the next 4 years as well, too. And Joe Biden has done an incredibly tough job as well, too. And now I can't imagine why that Trump is competitive, but he is. And now he can't be canceled now by anybody at this point. So now there's only one person. I believe there's only one person now that can beat Trump, and that's Joe Biden, because right now he's the only person in America that actually has beaten Trump in a powerless election.
Now, understand, the question was, Mr. John Fetterman, what advice do you give to Joe Biden on how to talk to progressives? He proceeded to talk to the progressives on why they should be voting for Joe Biden. And it's this sort of response. It's very android-like, the way that he behaves. And maybe you, Anthony, maybe you can say that it could be part of just, sort of the residual effects of his stroke. But he's very like, yes, man. Yes, like they ask anything. It's like, I love Joe Biden. You know what I mean? It seems very like I have a gun to my head sort of vibe. Like, yes, I love Joe Biden. He's doing great. He's just the best person in the world. I love him. It's very.
Can we just look at Mika's expression right there? for a moment because Mika, I have to say, when he said Joe Biden is the only person that could beat Donald Trump, she was kind of laughing and grinning, and I think she knows that's just bullshit. I mean, if I were a centrist establishment Dem, I wouldn't want Joe Biden because I'm not saying Joe Biden can't win. He is the incumbent and he can win. However, he is the worst seated incumbent going into a re-election race that we've seen in our lifetime. And if you're an establishment person, you know this, and that's why behind the scenes they're all talking about what do we need to do to replace him. And by the way, I agree with Kit. I've been saying this for over a year now, probably 2 years. Joe Biden, I firmly believe he will not be the nominee.
Yeah, exactly. I've had that conversation with Keaton. I believe 2 weeks ago when I was co-hosting a show. I see in Chicago something happening to where he is not named the nominee. It's in all serious, something's going to happen at the convention.
Here's the thing: his health.
Yeah,
Joe Biden shows obvious signs of cognitive decline consistent with age-related dementia. He is not well physically or cognitively, and anybody who knows anything about how that goes, it doesn't get better. No. And sometimes the declines can be very precipitous. And all of a sudden, boom, you'll know if that's happening when he is out of the public eye for 2 or 3 weeks because they won't know what to do with him. I'm going to say this, and I don't wish this on him, but he is not a healthy 81. Bernie is a year older. Bernie talks. Forget our political problems with Bernie right now.
Mm-hmm. Bernie, no, he seems very fine. He seems fine.
He's like he was in 2016. Biden has declined a lot. The State of the Union is March 18th or something. It's in the next 2 weeks. I'm sorry, almost a month, a little less than a month. If something happens, at any time, he can have another drop downhill. So I just don't think he's going to be the nominee. And as far as what's wrong with Fetterman, absolutely his lack of emotional affect when he talks. All of this could be related to his health issue.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But he is just repeating talking points too. And I've been saying this, and I don't think that it's definitely going to happen, but Fetterman is positioning himself to run or to be considered on the short list for VP for somebody. He has jumped in there. I don't think it's a realistic thing, but he is dope. When you see somebody go all in for Israel, when they that's really that hard, what's going on.
You really think they put him on the short list, or maybe he positioned himself to put himself on the short list for VP?
I think they want him as an option.
Oh, wow.
And I think they want him as an option because he's got that. I used to be a leftist. Maybe people will still be fooled. And look how I dress, kids. Do you know anybody in their 20s? Do you know anybody in their 20s that looks at this guy and sees him as hip and cool? That's the same thing as trying to get Kamala to get the youth vote.
Yeah,
nobody
trying to get any votes for Kamala. That's for trying to get
Kamala's not going to get anybody. Even the dead won't vote for Kamala. Okay, that's how bad she is. Little pets can't vote for her. Invisible people can't vote for her. No one's going to want to vote for Kamala.
It's not about age. Remember Bernie in 2016 and 2020, how he electrified young voters. The guy looked like your grandpa, right? Yet he electrified people. It's not about proximity to age. It's about how youthful your ideas are. And Bernie did put forth those youthful ideas. He's sadly abandoned our movement, but it is what it is. I'm not letting that hold me back. But yeah, this Fetterman guy, he's not serious. They're trying to make him happen like they tried to make Beto O'Rourke happen. And that you just can't do.
Never work. It never works that way.
No.
Let's let him finish out. He's like a minute left of him talking. I think this is where he brings up the MAGA hat thing comment.
Yeah, right here at the
That's great. Yeah, let me ask you, Senator, one final question. As you go around Pennsylvania, as you hear from your constituents, what is the most important issue facing them? What do you hear the most from them as we move into this incredibly important election? What's the issue that you keep hearing about?
Again, I think the most important issue is like, what do we want for this state and what we want for this nation, and what we want kind of a world order is as well too. And it's going to be very competitive as well too. And the president is going to win here in Pennsylvania. And I've always believed that whoever wins Pennsylvania is going to be the next president as well too. And this is going to be, it's going to be difficult. And we all have to lean in on that. And we also have to start having, all kinds of Democrats criticizing the president too publicly. I don't understand why. I don't know what's in it for you to do that, whether you're just chasing clout or you want to make it in the news or anything like that. But if you're not willing to just support the president now and say these kinds of things, you might as well just get your MAGA hat, because you now are helping trumpet this.
I mean, that sounds like a democracy to me. A sitting senator is saying any dissent is not welcome, and they just kind of continue on with the conversation. That is truly bizarre. If you are a nation who really believes that you are a democracy, I would think that kind of is a bizarre take there.